Welcome to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast with Phil Graham. We help you master Facebook ads and give you an unfair advantage over your competition. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey, podcast family. Welcome to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast, episode 418. I'm Phil Graham. Today, I've got your Facebook and Instagram ad questions answered, hopefully in just 10 minutes or less. So welcome to the episode, my friends. Welcome to mid-May. And there was an update. I can't remember if I mentioned it previously in the last couple weeks, but Threads now has a full rollout of ads, which is so cool because Threads is such a growing social media platform that's part of Instagram, and it just keeps growing and growing. There's so many users on there. So you may already have access to it, or if not, hopefully it'll be very soon, but make sure and keep an eye out for that because it is another placement for us in the Facebook and Instagram and Meta ad world that we can place our ads. So I wanted to make sure you guys knew about that and you're ready for that because it's going to be a great opportunity. So today I'm going to answer some questions from you guys, from listeners. And the fun part is my assistant gathers the questions from emails and from DMs that we get, and she does not show me the questions first. So when I read them on this episode, as you hear it, it's the first time that I'm seeing them. And I feel like it's more fun that way. I have no idea what they're going to be. All I know is I said, give me 5 or 6 questions, and I'm going to try and answer all these questions in less than 10 minutes so that it's hopefully fun and interesting, gives you guys some value, and doesn't take up too much time either. And I feel like that's like the sweet spot of time for a really good episode. Before we dive into the questions, if you guys are looking for some help with your ads, maybe you want some one-on-one coaching and consulting, or maybe you don't want to learn and you just want somebody to run your ads for you. For either one of those things, just go to my website, philgrahamdigital.com, or you can DM me on Instagram at philgrahamdigital. We could set up a short Zoom call and I would love to connect with you. Okay, so I want to jump right in. I'm going to set my timer because I am not going to go over 10 minutes, starting from the first question. And again, these questions are from podcast listeners. I have not seen them. So let's dive in and have some fun. I'm hitting start. Here we go. First question is from Jenna in Austin, Texas. What is a weird myth about Facebook ads? Okay, there's quite a few weird myth about Facebook ads. You know, I think the one I hear the most is that all you need is Advantage Plus, and you shouldn't do any other audiences. Now, there are situations where maybe that could be true, but there's lots of situations where it's not. You know, we've had plenty of interest audiences outperform Advantage Plus, sometimes significantly, whether it's a retargeting audience or an interest audience or something else. So I think that's a myth that is weird, that's incorrect. I do think you should be testing not only Advantage Plus, but also interest audiences and, of course, retargeting as well. Question number 2. This is from Mike in Denver. Have you ever had a total ad fail? Total ad, an ad like totally fail? I think that's what he means. Oh, heck yeah, everybody has. If somebody tells you they have not, then they either haven't run ads or they're lying. Everybody has failures when it comes to ads. There's nobody that's perfect. And I've had plenty of ads that didn't work. So my thing is, when an ad doesn't work, when it does fail, I try and learn something from it. I try and learn the reason why it failed, because then I can try and prevent it and make myself better with what I run next. So at the end of the day, is it really a failure if you learn from it and then you run a better ad because of it? Maybe, maybe not. But everybody has ads that fail. It's like if you're in a sport, if you play basketball, it's impossible to make every shot. So that's totally normal. So yes, I've had that. Everybody has. So don't feel bad, but make sure you learn from it. Okay, we're 2 minutes in, 2 questions down. Let's go to the next. Next question is from Tasha in Brooklyn, New York. And she asks, how long should I let an ad run before judging it or turning it off? Oh my gosh. Oh, this is going to be tough to answer quick because I could do a whole episode on this and I probably have before. And I'll probably do it again because so many people have problems with this. In fact, it's one of the biggest issues that I see advertisers make, whether they're experienced or not. So the first thing is when it comes to how long should you let an ad run, without knowing you and your exact situation and your budget and your audience size, your frequency and your reach, and all the other things I would need to know, it's impossible to just give you an amount of time. So without being able to do that, obviously, if I was working with you, I could let you know because I'd know all that stuff. But without knowing all of that, generally and typically, what I would say is that unless you have a really large budget, I typically would like to let an ad run at least 2 weeks, if not longer. I'm looking for like 500 to 1,000 clicks to the website before I make a true judgment. There's been so many times when an ad starts off not so good, but then after a week or cycling through more of the audience, it turns out to be an amazing ad. So sometimes that happens. Other times, it's not the case. It doesn't do well and it continues not to. Whether that happens or it turns out to be amazing, I would rather know for sure one way or the other, or at least with a higher level of certainty. And so try and let it run at least a couple weeks unless you have a large budget. There's definitely exceptions, but in general, I think most people turn ads off way too quickly and way too often. So hopefully you don't fall into that trap. Okay, question number 4. We're actually doing good on time. Question number 4 is from, I have no idea how to pronounce this, Priya, I think. Priya. Priya from Toronto. Priya asks, how long should my ad copy be? That is a loaded question. So I actually test long copy and short copy because there's not one that always works best. Sometimes one works better, other times the other. And so I definitely recommend, as you guys are running ads, you see if one consistently works better than the other for your particular product or service and audience. And most likely, there's going to be variables based off of what your ads say. So I would definitely be testing both long copy and short copy. I hear a lot of generalizations from people, though you should never run a long ad or you should never run a short ad. All that is just noise. That's just BS. You should actually test both types of ads. And when it comes to ad copy. So I don't think there's one that's better than the other. If you had a gun to my head and I had to pick only one, I might lean more towards short copy, but I've had plenty of ads with longer copy that outperform short and vice versa. So test them both. Okay, we're under 6 minutes and only 2 questions to go. We're doing great on time. Question number 5 comes from Devin in Seattle. We've got a local Seattle person. I love to see it. What's up? Devin asks, what is the best campaign objective that I should start with? That is another tough question to answer without knowing more about your exact situation, how long you've been advertising, whether you have a product or service, are you brand new, what's your budget, what's your audience size. Like there's so many variables. It's impossible to give an answer. If you had a gun to my head, I would say start with the sales objective if I had to pick one. But without knowing more about you, it's hard to say because there are times where I might start with traffic or I might do an awareness campaign or even a leads campaign. So it does depend on a lot of factors. If you just have no idea and you're selling something, then start with sales. If you're going after leads, start with that. There are reasons why some will work better than others. Even traffic sometimes could outperform sales. But if I had to pick one, I would say sales without knowing your exact situation. We made it to the final question. Question number 6 is from Brittany in Nashville. And she asks, how much should I spend on ads to see results? Ooh, another very tough question to answer. See, here's the thing. Without knowing you and how much money you have to spend, it's impossible for me to tell you because really the number is what are you comfortable spending? And then your job is to try and get the most out of that. I've worked with some people that could only spend $5 a day. That's where they were. That's where they had to start. And we had to work up from there. I've also worked with clients that spent hundreds of thousands of dollars per month. And then obviously most people are in between those two spots. But the thing is, you want to think about, number one, what are your goals? How much do you want to make? And number two, how much are you comfortable spending? So typically, obviously if I was working with you and I knew all about you, I could give you a number, what I would do in your situation. But without having that information and knowing you personally, what I would say is this: you can work with any number and build up on that, and are you going to be successful? Is it automatic? No, it depends. There's a lot of factors, but I've seen people be successful on low budgets and high budgets. And I've seen people not do well on both. The thing I would be most focused on is pick a budget that you're comfortable with that would allow you to sleep at night, to where it doesn't freak you out, to where it could take months before you see a lot from it and you would be okay. And that would be where I would start. And then whatever that number is, the goal is, how do you get the most out of it? And if it's not a huge budget, it's actually more challenging and difficult because you've got less room for error. And that's where you really have to build your skills and also tune out all the get rich quick idiot scammers out there as well, because that's only going to hurt you if you listen to that kind of stuff and you follow what they're saying. So build your skills, be smart about your money, but, try and be somewhat aggressive if you can, but not dumb aggressive with your budget. That's really the best advice I can give without knowing you personally. Obviously, if we're working together, I'll tell you what the number would be once I knew enough about you. But in general, that's what I would do. We did it, my friends, under 10 minutes for the questions portion of this episode. This is always a fun one for me because, again, I don't see these until I read them. And then I have to just think about it right away on the fly. So you kind of get my immediate reaction without me planning what I'm going to say. And so I think those are fun. And as always, just a reminder, it's always important to point out that every business is unique. Results can vary. There's no guaranteed outcomes. So always keep that in mind. So my friends, episode 418 is in the books. Thank you guys so much for being here. We've got another great one coming up next week, next Tuesday, as usual. If you have any questions or you want to connect, philgrahamdigital.com is the website, or you can DM me on Instagram at philgrahamdigital. Don't forget, Threads ads are here. Maybe you have them, maybe you don't, but make sure you watch for that in your account. I will talk to you, my friends, on next week's episode. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast. Please remember to subscribe and share this with all your friends. For show notes, more tips, and to learn more about Phil, please visit philgrahamdigital.com/podcast.